Stop. Right now. Just stop scrolling. Put the coffee down. Forget the Wi-Fi. Pause the playlist.
Look around.
While you're texting in bed under a warm blanket, someone, somewhere, is praying for one. While you're complaining about cold food at a restaurant, a mother in Venezuela is digging through garbage, not for herself, but for something her child can chew without choking. Not to fill a stomach, just to delay the pain of emptiness for one more night. While you're here, warm, safe, breathing freely, the world is choking. Literally. In Gaza, a grandmother cradles her dead grandson with one hand and covers the open wound on his tiny body with the other because she has nothing else. No bandage, no help, no God in sight. He died reaching for her. His last word was mama. In Haiti, children are learning what bullets sound like before they learn how to spell their own names. They hide under mattresses, not from monsters, but from gang members with machetes. Their homes have no roofs, but their fears have no ceiling. While you curse your alarm clock, a girl in Afghanistan is being pulled by the wrist, torn from her books, her classroom, her dreams, forced into marriage with a man old enough to be her grandfather. She bleeds on her wedding night. No one calls it abuse. They call it tradition. Her childhood ends under a veil. Her voice dies with her silence. In South Sudan, a boy is holding a rusted AK-47. His hands still tremble from the first time he pulled the trigger. He didn't want to kill anyone, but he hadn't eaten in 5 days. His commander promised bread if he obeyed. He's 11. He used to play soccer. In Myanmar, Rohingya families are being burned alive. Villages erased from the earth like pencil marks. Too inconvenient to leave standing. The world knows. The world sees. But the world does nothing. And the earth itself? She's crying too. Pakistan is drowning. Madagascar is starving. Australia is burning. The Arctic is melting. And those who suffer the most from it aren't the ones who caused it. A farmer in Kenya just watched his last goat collapse in the heat. His children cried beside him, not because they knew what had happened, but because that goat was their last hope for food. In the slums of Dhaka, families live 6 to a room the size of your closet. Rats run across sleeping infants. Sewage leaks through the walls. And still, they sing, because joy is the only currency they still own. In Chicago, a teenager just got shot while walking home from school. No headlines, no protests, just another statistic. His mother will bury him on Saturday. She'll wear the same black dress she wore for her older son. She thought she'd never need it again. And what about those we never see? The unseen grief, the silent cries? A depressed boy in Tokyo hasn't left his room in 8 months. He hasn't spoken to a single person. He eats instant noodles. He watches the world from behind a screen. He feels like a mistake. His parents don't understand. No one knocks on his door anymore. A girl in Ohio posts funny videos, dances, filters, smiles, then swallows a handful of pills before bed. She left a note on her notes app. I just wanted to feel seen. We are not numb because we don't care. We are numb because we are drowning in pain we pretend not to see. We scroll past pain like it's part of the scenery. We change the channel on genocide. We mute war. We swipe away tears. And the saddest part? We've trained ourselves to feel nothing. We cry at movie scenes, but go silent at real suffering. We rage over slow delivery, but say nothing when thousands die for speaking the truth. We complain about boredom, while refugees would kill for peace long enough to be bored. This is not guilt. This is reality. This is not shame. This is a wake-up call. The world is not okay, and we do not have the luxury to ignore that anymore. Let's talk about the invisible chains. In Qatar, men from Nepal, India, Bangladesh were promised good jobs. They left their homes, their children, their countries, chasing dignity. What they got instead was modern-day slavery. Passports taken, wages unpaid, temperatures at 120 degrees. Thousands of them died building stadiums for a World Cup the world cheered for. Their names forgotten. Their bodies shipped home in silence. Their families still waiting for justice that will never come. In the Congo, there's a war happening that no one talks about. Not on TV, not in your feed.
Why?
Because it's not politically convenient. Children are being turned into soldiers. Girls are being used as weapons, raped repeatedly until their minds shatter. Entire villages are being wiped out for coltan, a mineral found in your smartphone battery. Yes, your phone. This very device may have cost someone their childhood. Blood in your pocket, but we never think twice when we charge it. In North Korea, people disappear in the middle of the night. No trial, no explanation, no goodbye. A wrong word, a missed salute, a foreign movie. That's all it takes. Children are born in prison camps for crimes their parents committed. Let that sink in. Born in a cage, live in a cage, die in a cage, and never even know what freedom is. In China, Uyghur Muslims are being systematically erased. Mosques demolished, women sterilized, families separated, millions detained in what the government calls re-education camps. Their crime? Their faith, their culture, their identity. The world watches in silence, because calling it genocide might hurt business. In the Amazon, entire indigenous tribes are disappearing, not because they moved, but because they were poisoned, burned, and bulldozed out of existence. Multinational corporations clear their forests for beef and oil, and when these tribes resist, they're murdered. Journalists investigating this? They go missing too. The lungs of the earth are being choked, and the people protecting them are being buried in unmarked graves. Let's go further, into places with no names, because they've never been put on maps. In some parts of Nigeria, girls as young as 9 are forced into marriage to settle tribal disputes. They carry babies before they understand what's happening to their own bodies. If they die in childbirth, and many do, there is no outrage. There is no trial. There is no name, just another child erased by tradition. In Bangladesh, children work in brick kilns inhaling toxic dust. They work from dawn to dusk. Their hands are burned, their lungs are blackened. All to make the bricks used in buildings you might have walked through without ever knowing. And what about detention centers around the world? Not just in war zones, in civilized countries. Kids in cages, infants ripped from mothers, people sleeping on concrete under fluorescent lights. Their crime? Being born in the wrong place, running from war, begging for a chance to survive. And we call them illegal. There are women being raped in silence in refugee camps right now, because the guards are the predators, and the victims have no voice, no power, no one to believe them. Some are just girls, and their childhood ends under the sound of a zipper being undone. In Thailand, young boys are trafficked into fishing boats, working 18-hour days on dangerous seas. They never see land. Some jump overboard just to escape. Others are beaten to death and dumped like trash. That shrimp cocktail? It might have cost someone their life. All this, and you haven't heard about most of it. Not because it's not happening, but because we live in a world that prioritizes profits over people, comfort over conscience, silence over truth. The injustice isn't just in what's being done, it's in how easily we let it be forgotten. There are wounds bleeding right now that have no names, no flags, no headlines, no saviors, only silence. And silence kills. Let's start here. In the last 24 hours, over 25,000 people died from hunger. You didn't see it on the news, you didn't see it trending, but it happened, quietly, painfully, invisibly. Most of them, children, kids who never had a chance to dream. Some were born into famine. Others died with empty bowls in front of them, crying for food that would never come. Meanwhile, over 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted every year. Not because it's spoiled, not because it's bad, because it's not pretty enough. Because stores overstock to look full. Because homes buy more than they need. In America and Europe, we throw away enough food daily to feed entire countries. Perfectly good meals scraped off plates, dumped from buffets, tossed from supermarkets. While on the other side of the world, a mother in Somalia is boiling leaves in salt water, trying to convince her children they're eating soup. That's not a famine. That's not fate. That's failure. Failure of humanity. And yet, while millions go hungry, influencers are smashing cakes on camera, filling bathtubs with cereal, blending gourmet meals just to pour them down the drain.
Why?
For likes, for clicks, for clout. Do you see the irony? We're not starving because we lack resources. We're starving because we lack compassion. Now let's talk about war, because right now we are desensitized to bloodshed. In Gaza, entire apartment blocks have turned to ashes. Parents are writing their children's names on their arms in permanent marker, not for identification, but in case their bodies are found under rubble. Imagine that. Your child becomes unrecognizable, and a marker becomes your last act of love. In Ukraine, families celebrated Christmas underground in subway tunnels. Because their cities were under attack, they sang lullabies beneath concrete, while above them drones exploded over playgrounds. In Sudan, a grandmother walked 50 kilometers barefoot with her 3 grandchildren, escaping gunfire, carrying nothing but a water bottle and their birth certificates. When she got to the border, no one let her in. She wasn't on the list. This is what we've become numb to. We scroll past these stories. We might share one with a broken heart emoji. And then we go back to cat videos and what's your pizza personality quizzes. We say thoughts and prayers. But thoughts without action are empty, and prayers without compassion are just noise. Right now, a boy, maybe 10 years old, is digging through the remains of what used to be his home. He's not searching for toys. He's not playing in dirt. He's looking for his sister's body. No child should ever have to learn how to find the dead. And yet in Syria, Yemen, Haiti, Afghanistan, this is their childhood. And somewhere else, or maybe in a quiet, forgotten village, there's a girl, also 10. Her mother is braiding her hair and crying, because tomorrow a man, maybe 40, maybe 60, is coming to take her as his wife. She doesn't understand what's happening. She only knows that her father took money from the man, and now she has to be a woman. This child, who still sleeps with a teddy bear, will now be forced to carry a marriage, and soon after, a child, on her fragile frame. All because her family had no money, no food, no options. It's not tradition, it's desperation. Psychologically, here's what's worse. We're suffering from what psychologists call compassion fatigue. We see so much pain so constantly that our brains start to shut down. We feel overwhelmed, powerless, numb. So instead of helping one person, we help no one. Because the pain is just too big. But here's the lie. I can't help everyone, so I won't help anyone. That is the single most dangerous mindset in the world. Because it's how entire generations convince themselves it's okay to look away. Let's face it, we've become experts at self-care but amateurs at human care. We fight over pronouns while people die nameless. We cancel each other over opinions while children are canceled from life before they can even learn to read. This isn't just political. It's not just economic. It's not even just moral. It's personal. Because every time you look away, every time you say, someone else will help, the suffering continues. Look again. Look at the world. Not through a filter, not from a screen, not from the comfort of detachment. Look like your heart is open, like you care, like it's your child. Because somewhere right now, a mother is doing the unthinkable. She's burying her baby in a shallow grave. Not because of disease, not because of war, but because he simply didn't have enough to eat. And while she weeps, flies gather around the dirt mound that holds her world. No camera crew, no funeral service, no justice. Just a broken lullaby in silence. In Ethiopia's Tigray region, aid convoys are often blocked. Children are eating tree bark. Mothers chew gravel to trick their stomachs into thinking they're full, just so they can feed their child the last scoop of grain. In northern Nigeria, Boko Haram kidnapped 276 schoolgirls in 2014. Today, many are still missing. Some were forced to marry their captors. Others gave birth in the forest, alone, afraid, enslaved. We posted hashtags. We said, bring back our girls. And then we forgot. But they didn't. They live every day in a nightmare we briefly acknowledged, then moved on from.
Imagine this.
You're 11 years old. You live in Myanmar. Soldiers barge into your village at midnight. They set your home on fire. They drag your father into the street, accuse him of being a rebel, then execute him in front of your eyes. Your mother grabs your hand and runs. No luggage, no food, just you. You spend 3 days hiding in the jungle, drinking rainwater, sleeping on mud, listening for the sound of boots in the dark. And when you finally reach a refugee camp, there are thousands of others just like you, starving, traumatized, waiting for a future that may never come. And now listen to this. A teenage girl in Iran was beaten to death for not wearing her hijab properly. Her name was Mahsa Amini. Her death sparked protests, cries for freedom, equality, dignity. Dozens more died for speaking up. Young women, a brave, beautiful, burning with life. Shot, arrested, silenced. What was her crime? Hair.
And it doesn't stop there.
In India, an 8-year-old Dalit girl was raped and murdered in a temple. Because she used the wrong water tap, her attackers said she polluted the space. She was beaten, violated, and left in a corner like trash. The priest helped cover it up. Thousands marched. But no law could bring her back. No amount of outrage could erase what she endured. Her name lost to memory. Her pain branded in eternity. In the U.S., yes, even here, millions of children go to bed with empty stomachs. Not in war zones, in cities. In school districts where the lunch debt piles higher than textbooks, where teachers dig into their own pockets to buy granola bars just so kids can stay awake in class. And in those same cities, supermarkets throw out food by the ton because the apples have bruises or the bread is 1 day old. Where's the mercy in that? And perhaps the cruelest sorrow of all is the silence. We live in a world where someone can live stream their suicide and people will comment with laughing emojis, where a child can cry for help online and be met with memes instead of a hand. We mock pain, we monetize suffering, we trade empathy for entertainment. And here's the soul-crushing truth. Every statistic is a heartbeat that stopped, a face that smiled once, a voice that sang, a story that will never finish. We say, oh, that's terrible, then return to our comfort, as if sorrow only belongs to strangers. But pain doesn't ask for passports, and injustice doesn't need a visa. It exists everywhere, and it bleeds the same in every language. So look around. Look closely. Because while the world burns, we scroll. While it cries, we laugh. While it dies, we distract ourselves. But deep down, you feel it, don't you? That tug, that ache, that whisper that says, this is not the way it's supposed to be. So now what?
You're still here.
Still breathing, still watching, still alive while millions are not. And maybe that's not an accident. Because after all this sorrow, after all this pain, what happens next isn't about them anymore. It's about you. Yes, you, sitting on your phone, your couch, your bed, wondering what one person could ever do in a world so broken. But maybe the real question is, what if that's exactly why you're here right now? Not to save the whole world, but to feel it, to carry a piece of it, to be disturbed by it, to let it get under your skin so deeply that it refuses to leave you alone. Because that ache in your chest, that tightness in your throat, that's not weakness. That's not guilt. That's your humanity waking up. You were never meant to scroll past corpses, never meant to hear stories of genocide and war and poverty and just move on. That sick feeling you have right now, that's your soul telling you, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. This isn't how it's supposed to be. And no, you didn't cause all of this.
But now you know.
Now you've seen, and that means you can't unsee it. You don't have to cry. You don't have to post about it, but let it stay. Don't rush to numb it with noise. Don't drown it in distractions. Let it hurt, because sometimes the pain we feel isn't there to crush us. It's there to change us. This is that moment, the quiet one, the one that comes after the screaming, after the tears, after the breaking point, when everything inside you just stops and whispers, enough. Enough pretending it's not your problem. Enough comforting yourself with distance. Enough waiting for someone else. Look at your hands. They may not feel powerful, but they can lift. They can give. They can build. Look at your voice. It may not sound loud, but it can speak. It can defend. It can comfort. It can refuse to be silent. And maybe that's where it starts. Not with a revolution, not with millions, but with you, sitting in this ache, letting it burn, letting it crack you open, so something new can grow. Because before there can be redemption, before there can be action, there must be a decision. Will you keep watching, or will you start changing? This is not the end of the story, but it is the beginning of something quiet, something haunted, something honest, and maybe, just maybe, something that could save a life. But let's bring it closer. Let's talk about the pain next door. The girl who always smiles at school, she cried herself to sleep last night because her dad hit her again. The guy who jokes too much, he's been Googling painless ways to die. You think everyone's okay because they post selfies with filters? We're in the middle of a mental health crisis. We wear masks with captions, but inside so many are drowning. 1 in every 5 people you know is silently struggling, and some of them won't make it to next year. Here's the real twist. We built a world that's more connected than ever, and yet we've never felt so alone. Scroll, like, post, repeat. We've become experts at looking at screens, but blind to real suffering. When did empathy become inconvenient? There's a woman working 3 jobs just to afford insulin. A father choosing between paying rent or buying diapers. An old man who hasn't spoken to anyone in weeks. Not years from now. Not in some far-off place. Right now, on your street, in your city. This is not a documentary. It's not a statistic. It's real life. And yet we keep asking, what's wrong with the world? The answer? We are. But we don't have to be. Let's talk about the forgotten people, the invisible ones. Have you ever walked past a homeless person and looked away, pretending you didn't see them? Yeah, we all have. But what if I told you that man used to have a job, a family, and a house just like yours? One medical bill, one lost job, one tragedy. That's all it took. Now he sleeps under bridges, and people treat him like he's trash. Meanwhile, billionaires are racing to colonize space, while millions here can't afford a place to sleep on Earth. And the children, God, the children. Over 160 million children are working instead of learning. Little hands making bricks, weaving carpets, mining cobalt for your phone's battery. They've never held a toy. They don't know what cartoons are. All they know is labor, fear, and pain. A 6-year-old boy in the Congo wakes up every morning not to breakfast, but to the sound of pickaxes and explosions. He goes to work, not school. And at night, he falls asleep covered in dirt, not dreams. And you know what's worse? He thinks that's normal. Let's talk about women, again, more honestly, more deeply. In some parts of the world, a woman saying no isn't just ignored, it's punishable. By beatings, by banishment, sometimes by death. Saying no to a forced marriage. Saying no to sex. Saying no to tradition. In Pakistan, a woman named Kandil Balakh was murdered by her own brother.
Why?
Because she posted pictures that challenged conservative norms. He said she brought shame to the family. He became judge, jury, and executioner for a crime of expression. And he wasn't alone. Every year, over 5,000 women are killed in so-called honor killings. But that's just what gets reported. The real number? It's buried with the bodies. Now look at Iran. A 22-year-old woman named Mahsa Amini was arrested by the morality police because her hair was showing beneath her hijab. She never came out of custody alive. Her death sparked global protests, led mostly by young women, risking everything for the basic right to choose what to wear. Did you hear that? In 2023, girls were dying for the right to wear their hair how they want. And what about education? In Afghanistan, girls above grade 6 were banned from school. Taliban rule doesn't allow them to learn. Books were taken, uniforms burned, dreams crushed.
Imagine this.
You're a teenage girl who loves science. You want to be a doctor. You study under a blanket at night because education is forbidden. You whisper equations to yourself so no one hears. You hope, you pray, but eventually the world moves on, and you're left in the dark, both literally and mentally. That's psychological warfare. Cutting someone off from education doesn't just limit their opportunities, it erases their sense of possibility. It's not just oppression, it's control of the soul. And it happens younger than you think. A 13-year-old girl in Ethiopia is pulled out of school and married to a man in his 40s. She doesn't know him, but he paid her father. On her wedding night, she bleeds more than most should. She's still a child. Her body is not ready, her mind even less. By the time she's 15, she has 2 children and permanent damage to her body. Fistulas, infections, trauma.
And the worst part?
She thinks this is just what being a woman means. Because that's what she's been told. Be quiet, obey, endure. Acid attacks. Think they're rare? Think again. In India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and parts of the Middle East, if a woman dares to reject a man's proposal, if she dares to stand up for herself, if she dares to simply exist outside the expectations of fragile egos, she risks having acid thrown on her face, burned, disfigured, punished for being brave. Imagine the psychological scars of looking in the mirror every day and seeing a reminder of someone's hatred etched into your skin. Now imagine how strong you have to be to survive that, to keep going, to smile again, to love again. And yet many women do, because they have no choice, because no one's coming to save them, because silence is not safety, it's a slow death. And here's the truth no one wants to admit. This isn't just happening in far-off villages or broken war zones. It's happening in cities, in suburbs, in modern, developed countries too. In the United States, every 68 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted. 1 in 3 women will experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. By people they know, people they trusted. And when they speak up, it doesn't mean seen. They're doubted, shamed, blamed. She was asking for it. What was she wearing? Why didn't she leave sooner? This isn't justice. This is gaslighting on a global scale. Psychological insight. Women raised in these environments often grow up with what psychologists call learned helplessness. They stop fighting back, not because they agree, but because they've been punished every time they try. When you're raised in fear, when your voice has always been an offense, when survival becomes your only goal, you stop dreaming, you start shrinking. And that is exactly what abusers want. Small women, quiet women, controlled women.
But the truth?
Women are not weak. They're just tired of fighting battles they never should have had to fight in the first place. They're strong, but exhausted, resilient, but wounded, capable and but cornered. And they need us, not to pity them, but to stand with them, speak for them, protect them, empower them. Because until every woman is safe to say no, free to say yes, and empowered to say I decide, none of us are truly free. Abuse is everywhere, but it's the kind of pain people don't post about. Behind perfectly filtered Instagram photos, behind polite smiles at work or church, people are silently breaking. A woman in the U.S. shows up to work every day with her makeup slightly heavier under one eye because she's covering a bruise. She tells people she bumped into a cabinet. She lies because it's easier than being disbelieved, or worse, blamed. A teenage girl in India is locked inside her home because her parents caught her texting a boy. They call it discipline. She calls it a prison. A boy in Brazil comes home to a drunk stepfather who beats him for not getting top grades. So he stops speaking in class, afraid of doing anything wrong. He's 11 years old and already learning how to shrink himself to survive. Domestic violence shelters? Axamas. They're full and overflowing. Some victims sleep in their cars with their kids because it's safer than their own beds. Others return to their abusers because the system fails them. The restraining orders don't hold. The police don't come fast enough. The courts don't believe them. And the neighbors don't want to get involved. And the damage?
It's not just physical.
It's psychological warfare. It's waking up every day wondering if today is the day you die. It's being trained to believe you're unlovable, worthless, or crazy. It's what therapists call complex trauma, the kind that rewires your brain, makes you flinch at kindness, and apologize for everything, even breathing. Some people live in mansions but pray for peace. Others live in apartments and walk on eggshells in their own homes. And yet, most of this remains unseen, unspoken,
Ignored.
because society tells them, don't air your dirty laundry. Try to fix it. Be strong. No one says, you deserve to be safe. You deserve to be free. Now let's shift, because while we fight each other indoors, the world outside is collapsing too. Climate change is not coming. It's already here. A mother in Bangladesh watches her tin roof home get swallowed by floodwaters for the third time in a year. She doesn't cry anymore. She just holds her baby tighter, wondering how much longer they'll both survive. A farmer in Kenya, once proud of his land and goats, now stares at cracked earth and dying animals. He's losing more than income. He's losing dignity. He's watching generations of work turn to dust. Some days the only thing he can give his children is hope, and even that is running out. Meanwhile, cruise ships carrying tourists burn through 250 tons of fuel a day just so someone can drink champagne in the sun and post pictures saying, living my best life. The irony? People living their best lives are speeding up the destruction of people who just want to live at all. In the slums of Jakarta, children wade through water contaminated with sewage, trash, and chemical runoff. They get rashes, infections. They get sick, and they die often before their 5th birthday.
Why?
Because the water from the only pipe in their neighborhood costs more than a day's wages. Clean water is a luxury. In Pakistan, intense heat waves now reach 50 to 122 degrees. Roads melt, power grids collapse, and the poorest, rickshaw drivers, laborers, elderly, just drop in the streets. Literally, heat stroke, heart failure, no air conditioning, no escape. And children, again, are the frontline casualties. In Yemen, kids suffer from severe malnutrition worsened by drought. In Malawi, 8-year-olds walk 3 hours just to get a bucket of muddy water for their families. They miss school. They get sick. And sometimes they don't make it back. And here's the terrifying part. Their suffering isn't caused by nature alone. It's caused by our choices. Every factory that pumps poison into rivers. Every tree we cut without planting another. Every piece of plastic we throw in the ocean. Every time we say, "Oh, it's not my problem." So now the question is, how much longer will we keep looking away? How many people have to suffer silently? In their homes. In their hearts. Or under a burning sky. before we finally say, enough. And then there's the silence. The world isn't just hurting because bad things happen. It's hurting because good people say nothing, do nothing. We've normalized tragedy. We scroll past deaths like they're just background noise. We change profile pictures when it's trending, then go back to our lives like nothing happened. We've confused awareness with action. We think hashtags change the world. They don't. Not without hands. Not without hearts.
Look around.
The world isn't dying because of bombs or diseases or disasters alone. It's dying because of apathy. Because we've built walls where there should be bridges. Because we stopped seeing people as people. Mahamri, pause, let that sink in. But here's the truth that hurts even more than all the rest. We could change this. We can change this. We've built rockets that can land themselves. We carry more computing power in our pockets than NASA had during the moon landing. We've mapped the human genome. We've created miracles. But we still haven't figured out how to love each other. To feed the hungry? To hold each other up instead of tearing each other down? That's not a capability problem. It's a choice problem. So what if we started choosing differently? What if instead of waiting for governments, celebrities, or some faceless organization, you decided to be the start of something better? Because the truth is, you don't have to save the whole world. You just have to stop walking past it. Start with one person. Talk to the kid who sits alone. Call the friend who's gone quiet. Buy a meal for someone hungry, not because it's charity, but because it's right. Sponsor a child. Fund a water well. Volunteer. Advocate. Raise your voice for someone who's lost theirs. No act of kindness is too small. No act of love is ever wasted. A hug. A meal. A job offer. A conversation. These things sound small, but to someone in pain, they are everything. And don't underestimate the power of listening. Sometimes just being there for someone, fully present, without judgment, can be the very thing that keeps them alive. You can't fix everything, but you can be someone's reason not to give up.
And together?
If millions of people made millions of small choices to care, to see, to act, we wouldn't just change the world. We'd heal it. The starving would eat. The lonely would feel loved. The lost would be found. The hurting would be held.
Look around.
Yes, the world is hurting. But maybe that's exactly why you're here right now. To stop scrolling. To stop ignoring. To stop assuming someone else will step in. Maybe you're here to answer the pain. Because if you've ever asked, what can I do? Here's your answer. You can care. And when you care enough to act, you're not just a witness to this broken world. You become its healer. So, now that you're awake, what will you do with it? Because the world doesn't need more people watching. It needs people willing to feel again, willing to act, willing to carry someone else's burden for a while, even if it's heavy. And no, you can't fix everything. But let's be honest, you don't need to fix everything. You just need to fix something. Start where you are, with what you have, for who you can. One child sponsored, one voice raised, one meal given, one injustice called out, one lonely person reminded, you matter. That's how healing begins, not in explosions of heroism, but in tiny revolutions of love. Think about it. The clothes you buy could feed a refugee for a month. The money you spent on coffee this week, that's a malaria net for a child in Ghana. The hours spent scrolling in numb silence could become hours volunteering, calling, donating, mentoring, showing up. You don't need more time. You need more urgency, because the world is not waiting. Every second you're reading this, someone is slipping away. Someone is breaking. Someone is begging for help that will never come. Unless it comes from you. That isn't guilt. That's a gift. The gift of realizing that you still can. You still have breath. You still have hands. You still have voice. You still have choice. And choice is power. Here's what history won't remember. The views you got. The brands you wore. The filters on your story. But it will remember the people you lifted. The lives you touched. The tears you helped wipe away. Because long after you're gone, the ripple of your compassion will keep moving. Quietly, powerfully. Like light traveling through the dark. So where I'm winning.
Look around.
The world is still hurting. But now it knows you're watching. Now it knows you feel it.
So move.
Give. Speak. Act. Stand. Be the kind of human that makes other people believe in humanity again. Because maybe you were born for this moment. Not to escape the brokenness, but to heal it. Because awareness is a beginning, but it's not the end. Sympathy is not a solution. Good intentions don't stop bullets. They don't rebuild homes. They don't feed starving mouths or rescue abused children. Only action does that. You don't need to be famous. You don't need millions in your bank account. You just need a heart that refuses to stay numb and hands that are willing to move. You can start with one choice, one voice, one act of compassion, and that might be enough to rewrite someone's entire story. Because the truth is, this hurting world doesn't need more spectators. It needs soldiers of empathy. It needs people who care enough to stand up, speak out, and show up again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one else is watching.
Especially then, look around.
Yes, the world is hurting. But maybe, just maybe, you were born for such a time as this. Not to ignore it, not to escape it, but to heal it. One person at a time, one pain at a time, one courageous act at a time. So don't just look around. Do something. Because hope isn't something we wait for anymore. It's something we build. You don't need to be famous. You don't need millions in your bank account. You just need a heart that refuses to stay numb and hands that are willing to move. You can start with one choice, one voice, one act of compassion, and that might be enough to rewrite someone's entire story. Because the truth is, this hurting world doesn't need more spectators. It needs soldiers of empathy. It needs people who care enough to stand up, speak out, and show up again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one else is watching.
Especially then, look around.
Yes, the world is hurting. But maybe, just maybe, you were born for such a time as this. Not to ignore it, not to escape it, but to heal it. One person at a time, one pain at a time, one courageous act at a time. So don't just look around. Do something. Because hope isn't something we wait for anymore. It's something we build.